the Verstappen fans going bananas thinking it was retribution for what had happened early in the year. You've got the Hamilton fans thinking that, the race had been interfered with and it was unfair. When you see your counterpart smashing up headphones and pointing and ranting at cameras, you know that you've got to them. It's not a healthy way to lead a team by fear.
After you won the title in 2021, how did it feel? In sports, it's very passionate.
Yeah.
There's a fine line, isn't there, from what I've observed with some of the great, managers in the world, like Sir Alex Ferguson and football stars, and between like the passion and letting the passion get out of hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anger and, how do you balance that? And is it a balancing act?
Well, I think the Brits are quite good at that, keeping a stiff upper lip and, head down, get on with it. And for me, last year's World Championship was very much about that. And you could see, it was a titanic battle, not just between the two drivers on track, but by, the two teams off track. And the person you're gauging yourself and you're pitched against as a team principal is your opposite number. And it's a mental game as much as a physical activity as well. And of course, it was the first time that team in a 7-8 year period had come under any form of pressure. And I think you see people's true personalities and what they've really got when they're under pressure. So of course, when you see your counterpart smashing up headphones and pointing and ranting at cameras, you know that you've got to them, and you know that if they're venting in such a way and they're feeling that pressure, that the people beneath them are going to be offloaded onto as well, that they're going to be on the receiving end of that. And that, in my opinion, or in my experience, it caused people to tighten up. And I remember before the race in Abu Dhabi, getting all the guys together and saying, look, whatever happens today is going to happen. All we can do is do the best that we can do today. And the most important thing is, be proud of what you've achieved to get us to this position that we're fighting for this World Championship, that we've taken it all the way down to the wire. And most of all, enjoy it. Enjoy this experience. Whatever the outcome's going to be, we don't know. But just let's go in there with an approach of give it everything and enjoy it and embrace it. And in the end, it paid off. And I think that as a leader, how you conduct yourself permeates throughout a business. So if you're feeling the tension and you're passing that on, then for me, that's not a healthy way to lead a team by fear.
In all the press and on the racetrack over the last couple of years, why do you think your team will win?
I think that there's several factors. I think that, some things, performance is always cyclical. And Mercedes went through an incredible winning spree, longer than we certainly did. And at some point that was always going to come to an end, whether it's through complacency or whatever causes that. And I wanted to make sure that we were the team on the upward graph to capitalize on any sign of weakness. And I think, there were several components. One, of course, is the driver. The driver played a key role, in that Max Verstappen, emerging as this exciting, determined character. And you will not meet a more determined personality or driver with more commitment and passion than Max. And the team just having this inner belief and again, pushing all of the boundaries, operating at a level that was taking ourselves out of our comfort zone, whether that be world record-breaking pit stops, aggressive strategies, attacking strategies, taking calculated risks, with high risk, high reward, and with very much an attitude of we've got nothing to lose. We've got to throw everything at this. And I think it just in the end came down to desire, that there was more desire, and the way that we applied ourselves as a team under massive pressure. We dealt with that pressure, in a very together manner.
After you won the title in 2021, How did it feel?
2021 for me personally was a hugely challenging year because there was the pressure of everything going on track. There was an awful lot going on off track as well as we're building this engine business. And so you're recruiting from rival teams, and because Mercedes being UK based, there was a lot of people coming out of Mercedes that heightened the pressure. There was then a big PR battle as well. So you're in front of the cameras every week. You're having to defend your position or defend your driver, and it was very concerted in all directions. You could feel the pressure and building. It was like a heavyweight bout from round 1 in Bahrain through 22 rounds to when we got it to Abu Dhabi. And we went into Abu Dhabi equal on points, with Max being ahead virtue of race victories. Mercedes had gone there with the barristers because they were convinced that Max was just going to drive into Lewis, I think, on the first lap, and they'd be arguing it out in the stewards. But we qualified on pole, and then for the majority of that race, we felt that decisions went against us at the beginning of the race because Max had made a pass and Lewis had cut the chicane, but he wasn't told to give the position back. And everything we tried in that race, it felt like it was slipping away. And so what was going through my mind was like, how am I going to pick the guys up, after those? What am I going to say to Max? After such an intense season like this, what am I going to say to them? And then suddenly it just shows that anything can happen in life. And suddenly a window of opportunity presented itself with one of the back markers crashing. And we had to be on our feet. We took the risk. We made the pit stop. We bolted on a new set of tires, and Mercedes went defensive and conservative. And that gave us a window of opportunity to challenge for one racing lap. And with a fresh set of tires and Max Verstappen in your car, he was going to go for it. And so when he pulled the move off at a corner that we completely unexpected, I think Lewis totally unexpected it because he left the door open there, trying to get a good exit onto the straight. It was like, oh my God. And then they're going down the straight, they're side by side, and they get to the chicane, and he went in a little bit deep, and the strength of the Mercedes engine on the straight line. You've got to get the exit onto the next straight, and then they're side by side. And then he managed to keep and protect the inside line into the next left-hander, and at that point it's done, bar something breaking on the car. And then the feeling of just everything being lifted, and to see him after 7 long years of we've been nowhere. We hadn't even been able to challenge them. And then suddenly to see everything culminate in seeing your driver and car and team cross the checkered flag to become the world champion, that was just, it was very emotional, and you just felt all this pressure suddenly lift from you.
Was that the greatest professional moment of your career today?
Undoubtedly. I mean, the first time I won it, I was 35 or something like that, and that was in the last race in Abu Dhabi against the odds with Sebastian Vettel. So that was a unique feeling, and it was one of the rare races that Dietrich Mateschitz that actually came to. So for him to be there was very special, and that was a massive moment for the whole company, for the whole business. But I think having been through the tough times during that period of not just domination, annihilation by one of your opponents, to never lose sight of what the end goal was and to fulfill that and to win it on the last lap. I mean, you couldn't have written it. Nobody would have believed it. If somebody came up with a script and said that's the way this season's going to pan out, nobody would have, believed it. So for sure, it was, probably the biggest moment of my career so far.
And the whole world was watching. I think if people weren't into the F1, someone sent them a text and told them to turn the TV on at that point. I remember that's certainly what happened with me. I remember getting many messages in some of our sports chats on WhatsApp going, oh my God. So you turn on the TV and you're watching this last lap and it's just the most crazy.
It was insane. And of course, like, it was one of the most, I think it was the most singly viewed piece of sport, certainly last year, if not in the last 5 years. And there'll probably never be a Formula One championship like it in the next 20 years. It was so epic. And of course, sport is polarizing. So, on the one hand, you've got, the Verstappen fans going bananas thinking it was retribution for what had happened early in the year. You've got the Hamilton fans thinking that, the race had been interfered with and it was unfair. And then you've got the neutrals that had just witnessed the most phenomenal race between two magnificent drivers and teams operating at the top of their game. And so for the sport, it was fantastic because suddenly, again, we're just engaging with a whole new audience. And wherever we go in the world now, Formula One is having its moment in the spotlight. It is, it is sold out, and the demand for Formula One is just huge wherever we go.
If you love the Driver CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.